Hello, Steve White, Steve Arts 89. Well, I just watched Tina, What's Love Got to Do with It? The True Story of Tina Turner, starring Angela Bassett and Laurence Fishburne. It is a great film. I have seen it before. I saw it back in the day on video, and I bought it on Blu-ray a few years ago. I think I watched it then, I'm not sure. I really wanted to watch it yesterday. After I heard Tina had passed, one of the first things I wanted to do was watch that film and watch her music videos, and I ended up watching most of her music videos yesterday, but I didn't watch the film because I kind of remembered how violent the film is, and it's a bit triggering, and I sort of felt like I had to watch it those days, so I watched it today. And it's a great film. The performances are amazing. Now, it was originally released in 1993, the 6th of June 1993, so nearly 30 years ago. It's almost its 30th anniversary, so I might call this video my 30th anniversary retro review. But it cost $15 million back in the day, in the 90s, which was a decent amount, but not a big film. It made $61 million, which is pretty good. It was a biofilm. It wasn't like I said, a huge budgeted film. It's not a big action film or anything. They do a good job with the period, the 50s stuff, the 60s stuff. It all's really well done. The costumes, the sets for the shows, the performances. It's a real quality film. It looks great. The story itself, I'm not going to go through all the details of her life because this will end up being a 10-minute video. Basically, she's abandoned when she was a child. She goes to live with her mother in the city as a teenager. That's where she meets Ike. He discovers her talent. He, manages them as a act. They do really well, but it doesn't take long before things go bad, and he develops a drug addiction. He's struggling to write new music and have new hits, and he's becomes abusive. And the first abusive scene that we see is not the first incident of abuse, but it's fairly difficult to watch. The second scene, the SA scene, I'm not going to use the R word, that's even worse, and I couldn't really watch it. I was sort of watching, but I didn't want to disrespect Angela Bassett's performance by just not looking at it, but I was sort of just averting my eyes and doing other things during the scene. I only watched parts of it because it's really brutal. There's a third big fight scene where they're in a limo, and she finally has had enough and she actually fights back. Now, she gets up on him for a second, but we don't see the end of the fight. But they end up walking into the hotel covered in blood, and she's a mess and he's a mess. They go up to the hotel room, he goes to sleep, she leaves. Someone calls out her name, she runs in a panic, she runs across a highway, and goes across the road to a hotel, and she's got 36 cents in her pocket. She asks to speak to the manager and basically asks for a room and promises that she'll pay, and he says, of course. He knows she's Tina Turner, and the next thing you know, she's getting divorced. The only thing she gets is her name. The right to use her stage name is the only thing she got out of that divorce, out of that 15-year period of performing and all these hit songs and everything. She walked away with nothing. Now, she had a name, so she could perform as Tina Turner, but she had no material, she had no band, she had no management, she had nothing. But she managed to build a career. She managed to get someone to sign her on, to get an agent. I think he might have been Australian, I'm not sure, I need to check that. One of the first places she toured was Australia, and she was better received in Europe and Australia and places like that. In America, they'd sort of written her off as something from the 60s, and she was in her 40s, and they just were not really, they'd just written her off. But she did, I think it was Private Dancer her third album. She did, it took a while to get up to the point where they got up with Private Dancer, which that really hit. And What's Love Got to Do with It was huge. It was number one all around the world. She then did the Mad Max film. And the film gets to the point where she is going on stage for the first time and performs What's Love Got to Do with It and material from the Private Dancer show. And the film actually ends with shots of Tina Turner performing What's Love Got to Do with It live, pretty much current day. I don't think they filmed it for the film, but it's considered archival footage, so they must have filmed it for a concert, but maybe they knew they were going to be using it, I don't know. But she looks great. it's. I mean, you see in the little, the writing at the end of the film that Ike, because he confronted her a couple of times, he tried to get her back because he needed her, and he was in trouble with the record companies for not delivering any new songs and everything because he'd taken all the advances, and he just threatened her with a gun, and she just isn't afraid, and she just doesn't, just says no, I'm not doing it, and she leaves. She goes, she performs. He goes to jail, and she, realizes the dream of being a rock star like she wanted. And despite the ugliness of the abuse scenes, it is a great story of survival and achieving this dream that she wanted. And it is great. It ends well, and I'm glad I watched it. This is a great film. There's nothing else I can say. I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Thanks.